The door slammed so hard that Michael felt it in his chest. "Get out! We don't want you here anymore." Those words came from David, his own son, the son he had raised, the son he had worked for every single day, even when his back hurt and his hands were covered in cuts. The son he had loved more than anything in the world. Michael stood on the doorstep, holding a small cloth bag. Inside were his things: one extra shirt, a pair of socks with holes, an old photo of his wife who had died 5 years ago, and a wooden watch that didn't work anymore. That was all he had left. "Please, David," Michael whispered. His voice shook. "It's going to rain tonight. I have nowhere to go." David's wife, Rebecca, appeared behind him. Her face was hard and cold, like stone. "You've been here long enough. Old man, you eat our food. You take up space. We need that room for the baby." "But I'm your father," Michael said. Tears filled his eyes, but he blinked them away. He didn't want to cry. Not here. Not in front of them. "You were useful once," David said, not looking at his father's face. "But now you're just in the way." The door closed. Michael heard the lock click. He stood there for a long time, staring at the wooden door. He remembered painting that door 15 years ago, when David first bought this house. Michael had helped pay for it. He had given David almost all his savings so his son could have a home. Now that same door was locked against him. The sky was getting dark. Gray clouds covered the sun like a thick blanket. The air smelled like rain, cold and heavy. Michael started walking. His legs felt tired and old. Every step hurt a little. He was 73 years old, and his body reminded him of this fact with every movement. His jacket was thin and had a rip under the arm. The winter wind pushed through that rip and bit his skin. Where could he go? He had no brothers or sisters. His wife was gone. His friend from work had all moved away or died. He had spent his whole life building something for his family, and now he had nothing. The streets looked different at night. During the day, people walked everywhere, going to shops and jobs and schools. But now, as darkness fell, the streets became empty and strange. Shadows grew longer. The wind whistled between buildings like a sad song. Michael walked past the park where he used to take David when he was little. They would feed the ducks and eat ice cream. David would laugh and run and hold his hand. That little boy had loved him once. What happened to that little boy? The rain started. First, just a few drops. Cold drops that hit Michael's head and ran down his neck. Then more and more, until the sky opened up and poured water like someone had turned on a giant faucet. Michael had no umbrella, no coat that could keep him dry. The rain soaked through his jacket, through his shirt, all the way to his skin. He shivered so hard his teeth knocked together. He saw a bench under a small tree. It wasn't much shelter, but it was something. Michael sat down, pulled his knees up to his chest, and wrapped his arms around himself. The cloth bag sat beside him, getting wet. His stomach hurt. He hadn't eaten since breakfast, and that had only been a small piece of bread. Rebecca had stopped making him meals 2 weeks ago. "You can cook for yourself," she had said. But there was never much food in the house for him. Michael closed his eyes and tried to remember warm things. His wife's smile, the smell of her cooking, the little house they had lived in before she got sick. That house had been small, but it was theirs. They had been happy there. But the memory didn't warm him. The cold just got worse. Hours passed. The rain kept falling. Michael's whole body shook. His fingers turned purple. He couldn't feel his toes anymore. Maybe this was how it would end. Maybe he would just fall asleep here on this bench and never wake up. Maybe that would be better than the pain of knowing his son didn't want him. He thought about his life. All those years working at the factory. 12-hour days, sometimes 7 days a week. Coming home with dirt under his nails and oil stains on his clothes. Saving every penny so David could go to college. Going without new shoes so David could have a birthday party. Had it all been for nothing? Michael felt something break inside his chest. Not his heart exactly, but something close to it. Hope, maybe. Or the belief that he mattered to anyone. He was invisible now. Just an old man on a bench. Someone people would walk past without seeing. His eyes started to close. The cold wrapped around him like a heavy blanket. Maybe sleep would come. Maybe it would all just stop. Then he heard footsteps. Slow footsteps coming closer. Michael didn't open his eyes at first. He didn't care who it was. Probably someone who would tell him to move along. Or maybe someone who would steal his cloth bag, even though there was nothing valuable inside. But the footsteps stopped right in front of him. "Young man," a voice said. It was a woman's voice, soft and old. "You're going to freeze to death out here." Michael opened his eyes. Standing in front of him was an elderly woman. She was small, with white hair tied back in a bun. She wore a long coat and held an umbrella. Her face was wrinkled, but her eyes were bright and kind. They reminded Michael of his wife's eyes. "I'm not a young man," Michael said quietly. "I'm 73. The woman smiled a little. "Well, you're young to me. I'm 86. She looked at his wet clothes, at the cloth bag beside him, at his shaking hands. "How long have you been out here?" "I don't know," Michael said. "A few hours, maybe." "Do you have somewhere to go?" Michael shook his head. He didn't trust his voice anymore. The woman was quiet for a moment. The rain pattered on her umbrella. Then she said something that Michael would remember for the rest of his life. "Come with me. No one should be alone on a night like this." Michael stared at the woman. Her words floated in the air between them like something magical. "Come with me." But Michael had learned something tonight. He had learned that people could be cruel, that the people you loved most could hurt you the worst. That trust was a dangerous thing. "I don't know you," he said, his voice rough and tired. "That's true," the woman replied. She didn't seem upset by his words. "My name is Vera. I live 3 blocks from here. I have a warm apartment, hot tea, and fresh bread. I baked this morning. You can have some if you'd like." Michael's stomach rumbled at the mention of food, but still he hesitated. "Why would you help me? You don't know anything about me." Vera tilted her head, and raindrops rolled off her umbrella. "I know you're cold. I know you're wet. I know you're sitting on a bench in the rain with nowhere to go. That's enough for me to know." "I could be dangerous," Michael said, though even he knew it was a silly thing to say. He could barely stand up, let alone hurt anyone. "Are you dangerous?" Vera asked. "No." "Then come, before we both catch our death out here." She held out her hand. Michael looked at that hand. It was wrinkled and spotted with age, but it was steady, strong, real. He thought about his son's hands pushing him out the door. He thought about Rebecca's hands pointing at the street. He thought about how no one had touched it with kindness in so very long. Slowly, Michael reached out and took Vera's hand. It was warm. Vera helped him stand. His legs wobbled like a baby learning to walk. She handed him the umbrella. "You hold this. I'll carry your bag." "I can carry it," Michael protested weakly. "Save your strength," Vera said firmly. She picked up the wet cloth bag and started walking. "Stay close now. My building isn't far." They walked through the rain together. Michael held the umbrella over both of them as best he could. Vera moved slowly but with purpose, like someone who knew exactly where she was going and wasn't afraid of anything. After 3 blocks, just like she said, they stopped in front of an old brick building. It wasn't fancy. The paint on the door was peeling, and some windows had cracks. But warm light glowed from inside, and Michael could smell something cooking somewhere in the building. Vera led him up 2 flights of stairs. Each step was hard for Michael. His legs felt like they were made of stone. But Vera waited patiently every time he needed to stop and catch his breath. Finally, they reached a blue door with the number 7 on it. Vera pulled out a key and opened the door. "Welcome," she said simply. Michael stepped inside and almost cried. The apartment was small but beautiful. Not beautiful like a palace or a fancy house. Beautiful like home. There was a soft couch with colorful pillows. A small kitchen with yellow curtains. Pictures on the walls of people smiling. And warmth. Blessed, wonderful warmth that wrapped around Michael like a hug. "Take off those wet clothes," Vera commanded, already moving toward a closet. "I have some things that belong to my husband. He's been gone for 10 years now, but I kept his clothes. I don't know why. Maybe for a moment like this. She pulled out a dry shirt, pants, and a thick sweater. The bathroom is there. Change, and I'll make us some tea. Michael took the clothes with shaking hands. He went into the small bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror. He barely recognized the person staring back. His hair was plastered to his head. His face was pale and thin. His eyes looked empty and sad. He changed into dry clothes. They were a little big, but they were warm and soft and smelled clean, like soap and sunshine. When he came out, Vera had set the small kitchen table with 2 cups of tea and a plate full of sliced bread with butter and jam. "Sit," Vera said. "Eat." Michael sat. He picked up a piece of bread and bit into it. The taste exploded in his mouth. Sweet jam, creamy butter, soft bread. It was the most delicious thing he had ever eaten. Or maybe he was just so hungry that everything tasted like heaven. He ate 3 pieces before he remembered his manners. "I'm sorry," he said. "I haven't eaten much today." "Don't apologize for being hungry," Vera said, sipping her tea. "Eat as much as you want. There's plenty." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Michael ate. Vera watched him with those kind eyes. The rain drummed against the windows, but inside it was warm and safe and quiet. Finally, Vera spoke. "What's your name?" "Michael." "Michael. That's a good name. Strong." She paused. "What happened, Michael? How did you end up on that bench?" Michael set down his cup. His hands trembled, but not from cold this time. From pain. From the memory of that slammed door. "My son," he said quietly. He kicked me out. Him and his wife. They said I was in the way. That they needed my room for their baby." Vera's face didn't change, but Michael saw something flash in her eyes. Anger, maybe, or sadness. "I lived with them for 2 years," Michael continued. The words poured out now like the rain outside. "After my wife died, I had nowhere else to go. I gave them almost all my savings to help with their house. I helped raise their first child. I fixed things when they broke. I tried to be useful. I tried not be a burden." His voice cracked, but it wasn't enough. I wasn't enough. My own son looked at me like I was garbage, something to throw away. A tear rolled down Michael's cheek. Then another. Then he was crying, really crying, for the first time since his wife had died. His shoulders shook. His breath came in gasps. Vera stood up and moved around the table. She put her hand on Michael's shoulder and squeezed gently. She didn't say "don't cry" or "it'll be okay," or any of the useless things people usually say. She just stood there, letting him know he wasn't alone. When Michael finally stopped crying, Vera sat back down. She looked tired but determined. "I had a son, too," she said softly. "He died in a car accident 20 years ago. He was only 35. I also had a daughter. She moved to another country and never calls. I write her letters, but she doesn't write back." Michael looked up at her. "I'm sorry. Life is full of sorrow," Vera said, "but it's also full of choices. We can let the sorrow drown us, or we can choose to keep swimming. We can choose to be kind even when the world is cruel. We can choose to help even when we've been hurt. Why did you help me?" Michael asked. "Really?" Vera smiled. "Because I've been lonely too. Because I know what it feels like to wonder if anyone cares. Because we're all just people trying to survive this strange, hard, beautiful life. And because..." She paused, her eyes twinkling. "My bathroom sink has been dripping for 3 months, and I can't fix it myself." Michael blinked. Then, for the first time in what felt like forever, he laughed. It was a small, rusty laugh, but it was real. "I can fix a sink," he said. "I know," Vera replied. "I saw your hands. Working hands. My husband had hands like that, strong and skilled." "I could fix other things, too," Michael offered. "If you let me stay a few days, I could repair whatever needs repairing. It's the least I could do." Vera shook her head. "You don't owe me anything, Michael. But if you want to stay, you're welcome. Not as payment. As a friend. As someone who could use some company in this big, quiet apartment." Michael felt something warm bloom in his chest. Not love exactly, but something close to it. Hope, maybe, or belonging. I'd like that, he whispered. Then it's settled, Vera said. Standing up, you'll take the spare bedroom. Tomorrow, we'll figure out the rest. But tonight, you sleep somewhere warm and safe. She showed him to a small room with a soft bed and clean sheets. There was a window that looked out at the rainy street. Michael could see the bench where he had been sitting just an hour ago. It looked so far away now, like something from another life. "Good night, Michael," Vera said from the doorway. "Good night, Vera," Michael replied. "And thank you for everything. Thank me by getting some rest. We have work to do tomorrow." She closed the door gently. Michael lay down on the bed, still wearing the borrowed clothes. The sheets were soft. The pillow was fluffy. Outside, the rain continued to fall, but Michael didn't hear it anymore. For the first time in 2 years, he felt safe. For the first time since his wife died, he felt like maybe, just maybe, he could be happy again. As sleep pulled him under like a warm wave, Michael thought about Vera's words, about choices, about kindness, about swimming instead of drowning. Tomorrow he would fix that sink, and maybe in the process, he would start fixing himself too. Morning came with soft sunlight streaming through the window. Michael woke up confused at first. Where was he? This wasn't the cold bench. This wasn't his son's house where he had to tiptoe around and stay quiet. This was somewhere warm and peaceful. Then he remembered Vera, the rain, the kindness of a stranger. He sat up and stretched. His body still ached, but it was a different kind of ache. Not the ache of cold and despair, just a normal ache of being old. He could live with that. The smell of coffee drifted under the door. Michael got up and walked to the kitchen. Vera was already there, humming a tune while she cooked eggs and toast. She turned when she heard him. "Good morning, Michael. Did you sleep well?" "Better than I have in years," he answered honestly. "Good. Sit down. Breakfast is almost ready." They ate together, talking about small things. The weather, the birds outside the window, the way the sun made the kitchen glow golden. It felt normal, natural, like they had been doing this for years, instead of just one night. After breakfast, Michael stood up. "Show me that sink." Vera's eyes sparkled. "You're serious about fixing things?" "I'm serious. I need to do something useful." "Please." She led him to the bathroom. The sink did indeed drip. One slow, steady drop every few seconds. Michael bent down and opened the cabinet underneath. He saw the problem right away. A worn washer in the faucet. "Do you have any tools?" he asked. Vera brought him a small toolbox. It was old, but had everything he needed. Michael got to work. His hands remembered what to do even though it had been a while. Tighten this. Replace that. Adjust the other thing. 20 minutes later, the dripping stopped. "Listen," Michael said proudly. Silence. Vera clapped her hands together like a child. "You fixed it." "Oh, Michael, that dripping was driving me crazy." "What else needs fixing?" Michael asked. He felt energy flowing through him. Purpose. Something he hadn't felt in so long. Vera bit her lip, thinking, well, the bedroom door squeaks terribly, and one of the kitchen cabinet doors won't close properly, and the window in the living room lets in a cold draft, and "Show me everything," Michael interrupted, smiling. And so began the most wonderful days Michael had experienced in years. Every morning, he woke up in the soft bed. Every morning, Vera made breakfast. And every day, Michael worked on something in the apartment. He fixed the squeaky door by oiling the hinges. He adjusted the cabinet so it closed smoothly. He sealed the drafty window with special tape Vera bought from the store. But he didn't stop there. He noticed the kitchen table wobbled. So he fixed that too. He saw that the bathroom light flickered. So he replaced the bulb and checked the wiring. He painted over the water stain on the living room ceiling. He tightened all the loose screws on the chairs. The apartment transformed. It went from slightly broken to beautifully maintained. And with each repair, Michael felt a little more whole himself. Vera watched him work with happiness in her eyes. She brought him tea while he worked. She told him stories about her life, her childhood in the countryside, her wedding day, the son she had lost. Michael shared his own stories too, the good memories with his wife, the pride he felt when David was born, the life he had built with his own 2 hands before it all fell apart. They laughed together. Sometimes they cried together, but mostly they just existed together in comfortable companionship. One evening, about 2 weeks after that rainy night, they sat on the couch after dinner. Michael had just finished painting the hallway a cheerful yellow color. "You've done so much," Vera said quietly. "This place hasn't looked this good in 10 years. "I should be thanking you," Michael replied. "You saved my life that night. You gave me a reason to wake up." Vera reached over and patted his hand. "We saved each other, I think." Michael realized she was right. Vera had been lonely too, isolated, forgotten by her daughter, living in a slowly deteriorating apartment with no one to help. She had needed him just as much as he had needed her. They had found each other at exactly the right moment. "Vera," Michael said carefully, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Can I stay? Not just for a few more days, but for longer? I'll keep fixing things. I'll help with groceries and cooking. I'll pay rent once I figure out how to get my pension check sent here. I don't want to be alone again." Vera's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. "Oh, Michael, I was hoping you would ask." "Yes, please stay. This apartment is too big for one person anyway, and I've gotten used to having someone to talk to at breakfast." Michael felt his heart swell. "Thank you." "No, thank you. You've given me something precious. You've given me family." That word hung in the air. Family. Michael thought about what family meant. He used to think it meant blood. It meant the people you were born to or the children you raised. But maybe family was bigger than that. Maybe family was the people who chose to love you, who showed up when you needed them, who made space for you in their lives not because they had to, but because they wanted to. David was his son by blood, but David had stopped being his family when he slammed that door. Vera was not his blood, but she had become his family when she offered her hand in the rain. The next few months were the happiest Michael had known in years. He and Vera fell into a gentle routine. They had breakfast together every morning. He did repairs and maintenance around the building. Other tenants started asking for his help too, and he was glad to give it. Vera tended her small herb garden on the windowsill and cooked delicious meals. They played cards in the evening. They watched old movies together. They took slow walks around the neighborhood when the weather was nice. They celebrated holidays together, just the two of them, making new traditions. Michael started humming again, old songs from his youth, songs he used to sing with his wife. The music returned to his life like birds returning in spring. He thought about David sometimes. The pain was still there, like a scar that would never fully fade, but it didn't control him anymore. He had learned something important. You cannot force people to love you, not even your own children, but you can choose to accept love when it's freely offered. One day, Michael was fixing a shelf in Vera's bedroom when he found an old photo album. He flipped through it and saw pictures of Vera's family, her husband, her son who had died, her daughter who didn't call. Vera came in and saw him looking. "That's my history," she said softly. "It's beautiful," Michael said, "even the sad parts, because it's real. It's your life. What about you? Do you have any photos?" Michael thought about the old picture in his cloth bag, the one of his wife. Just one. But maybe we could take some new ones? Together? Vera's face lit up. "I would love that." So they did. Vera asked a neighbor to take pictures of them together in the apartment. Michael standing proudly next to the kitchen he had repaired. Vera smiling in front of her herb garden. Both of them sitting on the couch, looking at the camera like the family they had become. Vera put the pictures in her album, right alongside her other family photos. "There," she said. "Now you're part of my history too." Michael felt tears prick his eyes, but they were good tears. Happy tears. He had been thrown away, left to freeze on a bench in the rain. He had felt worthless and unwanted. He had thought his life was over. But then a stranger appeared in the darkness. A stranger who saw him not as a burden, but as a human being who deserved kindness. A stranger who became a friend who became family. Michael learned that endings could become beginnings, that the worst night of your life could lead to the best chapter. That home wasn't a place. It was a feeling, and that feeling could be found in the most unexpected places. As winter turned to spring, Michael stood at the window one evening and looked out at the street. Somewhere out there, his son David was living his life. Maybe he felt guilty. Maybe he didn't think about his father at all. Michael would never know, but it didn't matter anymore, because Michael had found something better than resentment or bitterness. He had found peace. He had found purpose. He had found belonging. He turned away from the window and saw Vera in the kitchen preparing their evening tea. She looked up and smiled at him. "Ready for our card game?" she asked. "Always," Michael replied, smiling back. And in that moment, Michael knew with absolute certainty he was home. If you enjoyed the story of hope and second chances, please like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales that remind us kindness can change everything. Sometimes family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up when you need them most. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late for a new beginning.